Hey everyone, thanks for checking out my channel again. Today I'm going to be comparing some common woodworking finishes. I'm not doing any of the hard wax oils, so if you're looking for Rubio, Osmo, Odie's, any of that, you won't see it here. I'm going to start with tung oil, Danish oil, water locks, which kind of is a tung oil. That's my control piece. Water-based poly, spray lacquer, and oil-based spray poly. I also have one spare piece that I'm just going to use a little kind of a cheap finish on that I'll reveal to you guys after we do the comparison. I'm going to clean everything first with some paint thinner, which is literally just mineral spirit. I already sanded all of it to 220, as you can see. It's just plain red oak. The reason I went with this instead of some of my fancy wood is, one, because of price, and two, this is wood you can pick up at any big box store, you know, the Home Depots, the Lowe's. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean all this with some mineral spirit. I'll set this on a tripod, and then we'll have to let that dry probably 25 minutes or so before we can do it. The tung oil is probably gonna get 2 coats. The Danish oil will probably get 2 coats. The water locks will get 2 coats. The water-based poly will get 2 coats. The lacquer will get 2 coats. The fast-drying poly will get 2 coats, but even though that says fast-drying, that takes a while. Water locks, you're supposed to wait 24 hours between coats, but I'm not going to do that. I do apologize, but the only Danish oil I have is actually slightly tinted, so that will skew things a little. But I think it'll be a fun comparison, so I'll set up a tripod and I'll get cleaning all this. This already. Flip the towel. Really not a huge fan of oak wood. Just has that 80s vibe to it. Like pretty much all cabinets and things in the 80s were made of oak. It was the big craze. I don't hate it, but it's not my favorite. I would have much rather done this with some better wood, but I don't want to waste my Purple Heart or anything on just a comparison test. So I've got those all cleaned. Move this over. So I just got to let that flash off. Even just hitting it with the mineral spirit, look at the grain pop out of it. But we'll give that 45 minutes to an hour, and then I'll come back and start putting finish on. All right, so the mineral spirits had a chance to flash off. So the first one I'm going to do is the Minwax Fast Drying. This is oil-based. It's not very fast drying, even though they say that. I decided to just do this inside because it is quite windy out and there are a lot of pollen. So I'm going to hit this real quick with the first coat. I already cleaned the nozzle on it. Give it a little shake first. That's about it. So I'll move it back over. Next up is lacquer. This is the one I was really hoping to do outside, but I just don't think it's a good idea. I did write on the back lacquer, so it is going to stink it up in here. Lacquer you have to hold a little further away. And that's it for that. That's how easy lacquer is, and this will actually be dry in about 3 minutes. All right, we're back up on the bench. And next up is our water-based poly. I'm just using a little foam brush. You can use any brush you want, really. I dropped this can, so it's a little foamy, unfortunately, but I don't think that'll make a huge difference with a brush. Oh geez, maybe it will. That's quite foamy. I'll do my best to get any bubbles out, but stuff does go on milky. I don't particularly like water-based poly. I just had it, so I figured I'd throw it in here, and I know a lot of beginners use it. So set that aside. Good thing about it is to clean your brush, you literally can just run it under the faucet. And for the rest of these, we need gloves. I'll start with the water locks. And I'm just gonna use some cloth towels to wipe it on. All three of these actually. Fortunately, these are small pieces, so it won't take a ton. But we'll just wipe that, fold that up, and see if we can get that open. Wow, that was sealed shut. I actually don't know if this is still any good. I've had this since, I don't know, September of last year. And it was open. I did squeeze the can to get the air out of it, but it could have solidified a little bit in there by now. Ah, seems to be pretty liquidy, so we'll go with it. I actually did an entire table in this. I did use about 8 coats, but did an entire table with it. It was great. Actually, one of my favorite finishes. You'll see why. Just wipe it on the first coat. I mean, it already looks good. Probably should have smoothed the edges on these a little more. Thing with water locks is it really soaks into the wood, so you have to do multiple coats, and it does spontaneously catch on fire. So all of these wipe-ons that I'm using, I'm actually hanging the rags until they dry. So I will be right back. Next on the list is Danish oil. I do like Danish oil. I've never tried this one, and as I mentioned earlier, this is going to be a bit unfair of a comparison because this is the walnut colored Danish oil. Oh, come on. There we go. Oh, wow. I don't know how good this still is. It's a brand new tube of it too, or container of it. That's surprising. Some of it solidified on the cap there. It's never a good thing. But we'll give it a shot. Maybe I can get some decent product out of it. Wow, that is black. I don't usually use anything that colors the wood unless it's an actual stain, but we'll give it a shot. So here we are. I guess that's not too dark. It definitely is darker, but not terribly. There we have that. And same with the other one. We gotta hang that. After I let those hang for a week or so, I go put them in my fire pit. That way if they do catch on fire later on, it's not really a big deal. And tung oil. This one gives the wood the best natural appearance in my opinion. When you can get the cap off, geez. Well, okay. There we go. All right, tung oil going on. Here we go. So we'll give these an hour, and then we'll come back and do another coat on all of them. All right, so I know I have 2 coats on everything. They still need to dry, but we've got our tung oil, our Danish oil, our water locks, water-based poly, lacquer, and oil-based aerosol poly. And here's my secret finish that I'll reveal at the end. It's just a really cheap one, but it's only have one coat of that on. I'll do another one soon. All right, we are back. Everything's dry, so we're just going to do a quick comparison. So first off, here is the control piece, just some plain red oak. Next up, we have the water-based polyurethane, which it didn't really do that bad. It is kind of plasticky. I don't know if this is really showing it, but it is. Next, we have lacquer. This is one of my favorite finishes to use just because of the ease of it. But it does look quite good as far as the spray-on finish goes. That's it compared to the water-based poly. Next, we have the aerosol-based, oil-based poly. That actually doesn't look bad either. It doesn't warm the wood that well. Shockingly, the lacquer actually warmed it a bit more, but it doesn't look that bad on oak. This is my mystery finish that I didn't really want to tell you guys because it's a real cheapie, but I'll show it to you at the end. Then when we go over to the other side, we have Waterlocks, which does a nice job. I did a whole table in this. It does warm the wood pretty well, but it keeps the color fairly natural, which I do like. I have my Danish oil, and this is the walnut Danish oil, so it does add some color to it. It looks really good. It's actually my favorite out of them, but that's because it darkened it. My only gripe is with oak has deep pores, so if I get really close, see the black spots in it? That's the pigment in the Danish oil sticking in those deep pores. And next we have the tung oil. This is probably one of the oldest finishes out there, and it actually looks phenomenal on here. It does really warm the wood. Gives it a little bit of color, but not a ton. It just, I actually think it looks fantastic. Out of all of these, my favorite is probably this one, but that's strictly because it darkened the wood. Oak is very light. I do like the Danish oil as well. Just a side-by-side comparison of the walnut tung oil and the Danish oil. They both look really good. The Waterlocks looks really good as well. It probably could have used a third coat. I'll be the first to admit that. My mystery finish, which is also an oil-based finish, looks really good too. It unfortunately really highlighted this this grain piece here that is darker. But yeah, the water-based poly is my least favorite. I've never liked this stuff because it really does look like somebody just put a thin coat of plastic over it, and that's essentially what you did. So that one goes to the back of the line. Lacquer. I've always liked lacquer just for the ease of it, and it does actually look good. But this is a high gloss lacquer. I think a satin would look better. But it, as far as an aerosol can and literally taking a couple minutes to do, it looks pretty good. The oil-based spray poly, really not bad. If you're new to woodworking and it's very easy to use, and you want to get a decent finish on there, and it's probably the strongest out of all of them, this would be the one to use. So now I guess I'll tell you guys what this one actually is. This is not a wood finish. This is just butcher block conditioner. I use this when I make cutting boards, but I notice how much it really warms the wood, so I figured I would give it a try. Now, would I use this on a tabletop? No. Would I use it on something low traffic, like a shelf that I just put some pictures on or something? Absolutely. It looks phenomenal. It's basically just mineral oil and beeswax. So that is going to be over there. But make your decisions based on what your preferences are, or what whoever you're building it for's preferences are. I will use all of these again at some point. I don't really love water-based poly, but it has its place, especially if you're building something that's going to be inside literally the same day. The lacquer, I use it a lot, but it's very toxic. So you kind of have to spray that outside. And I don't use a lot of poly, but it really didn't do a bad job. So yeah, compared to the control piece, they all look better. So hope you guys enjoyed this. By all means, hit that like and subscribe button. I could definitely use the help. Thank you so much.